How's it, brew? Sharp. All right, you guys ready? All right, I think we're at the beginning of the day. You guys ready? Boom, bam, 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 bam. Sharp, Daniel. So, guten Morgen. Welcome to Forex.Today. It is Friday. Hey, we could take an early weekend or we could try to make some money. So, how about that? So, check this out. In America, Monday is a holiday. Markets are closed. So, a lot of people could just say, well, I'm going to take off Friday. So you get Friday off, Saturday off, Sunday off, Monday off, and you only ask your boss, please, boss, can I have one lousy stinking day off? But for that one day, you get a 4-day holiday. So that's interesting, right? But I don't take holidays. Holidays are for the sick and the weak. I just can't work anymore. I need a day off. Dude, you just had Christmas and New Year's. And then before that, you just had Thanksgiving. Like, dude. But anyways, Monday's a holiday, so get ready for that. So today is the best day. Today is going to be the day that I'm going to throw it back to you, right? So it is 8:00 something. I can't quite see even though I'm wearing glasses. Can't quite see, but it's 8 something in the morning. So welcome to Forex.Today. Let's get on with it. Let's go. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Wayne McDonald. I'm a currency trader. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Nice to meet you. Hey, thanks for coming to my office this morning. Today we'll do some technical analysis. You know, actually, I don't feel tired. I don't feel lazy. I just feel, I don't know what I feel. So I just kind of want to just like turn the radio on, turn some music on, and watch the markets. I think I feel like not talking, which makes for a really strange webinar, right? What did you do today? I had a 9-hour webinar in which I said no words. So there you go. So I don't know what you want me to do. I don't feel like doing any big speeches. I like trading. I just like doing trades. I'm sick of talking. But maybe it's because yesterday I did a lot of talking. But wow, what an awesome swing trade meeting we had yesterday. I loved it. And I was there and I'm like, I'm loving this. This is really cool. I saw some like jaws drop like, oh, what? Holy snap. So I felt good about it. Hopefully you did too. So again, today at Forex.Today, I think I'm just going to throw on Trade the News, maybe find some instrumental music, or maybe just get like, just get slapped by YouTube. And I'm like, I don't care, YouTube. Keep your $2. We're gonna listen to pirated music. So anyways, so that's kind of how I feel. But ultimately, you're the boss. We can do whatever you want. Oh, Gordon just watched the video? Yeah, very cool. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'd like to thank you for being part of the community. You've been a subscriber for a very long time. I thank you for leaving comments. I went through many comments yesterday. reading them and keeping in tune to what you're doing. Seems like people are now slowly just copying, which is cool, actually. They're asking Daniel permission so they can copy his notes that he documents in the comments, and then they copy and paste and put it in their comments so that then they can search their comments, right? They can go back and, when was that thing when he talked about, the productivity gap? And they searched their comments, and all they did was copy Daniel's comments and put it in their comments so that they can search. And he's like, yeah, whatever, bro. Whatever, help yourself. Right? So very cool. Thank you, Daniel, for that. But there are lots of people using those the comments in the videos quite well. So kudos to you guys. And I think when you're making these efforts, it's going to pay dividends. It's going to pay off in dividends. So very good investment. Also, I'd like to thank Traders Way for being part of our community. You're a trader. You're going to need a broker. This particular broker says, you know what? We want our clients to be successful. It's not about making tons of money, right? It's about making sure our clients trade with confidence and success and profitability and consistency for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. That's the kind of client we want, Wayne. Can you help? Can you provide education? Yes, I can. Sure. I mean, I love helping people trade, right? So in this case, you have to think about their sort of modus operandi. Is that something that you identify? Do you like the fact that they're interested in your success, in hopes that they earn your loyalty and respect? So if you like that, give them a shot. I think it's a great business model. Give them a shot. Tradersway.com. Open up a demo account, ECN account for sure. Fixed spread account for sure. Variable account. Yeah, for sure. High swaps, yipper. World-class customer service, if you need it. So thank you, Traders Way. Tradersway.com. Here we are. Beauty and the Beast. So I feel like I need to go into a big speech. Is that what we want to do today? Here's the big speech. Here's where we were in New York yesterday. And I said, guess what? Okay, there you go. Yeah, do I have to talk about it again? Oh, is that right, Danny? Daniel says they stopped fixed spread. I wonder why. I guess nobody wanted them, huh? Just a waste of time or something? They're interesting, like fixed spread. I've never actually had one, but it makes sense if you're scalping in particular news events. Hi, Wayne. Can I use the bearish bullish bias on monthly settings? Yeah. So, for example, this is weekly. So now we go template, position trading, bearish. There. Today, right? So you can see we're in the sell zone. It's still stepping up, which is the danger zone actually for bears because bulls would buy down in here. Okay, but this is our well-documented bullish strategy anyways. Oh, that's supposed to be blue. Okay, this is what we got in mind. Okay. Hey, made up. Right, so all that's well-documented. But if you're a bear, you're selling step-ups. Not ideal, but it can be done, especially if you already assumed this, right? Remember, this move here, when we talked about it before it happened, we all agreed that there was no technical reason for it. Technically, it didn't exist. And I said, yeah, technically it doesn't, but it will. It very likely will happen. And sure enough, it happened. Great. So, right, so you have to put that into context now and say, well, it's been up, but past performance does not predict future results. Things will do, do and will change, right? So all this is sort of irrelevant now in the sense that if you're a bear for non-technical reasons, okay? And a full bearish move will get us down to this area. There's the target, right? Okay. So the pivots are working for sure. Yeah. Now, here's the interesting thing, and this is why I bring it up. If you're a bull, you say, okay, I expected the downward move. Okay? I mean, again, we talked about it for weeks, so it's right? Nothing complicated. So they're like, okay, yeah, I get but I'm a long-term bull. And this would be the buy zone for long-term bulls. And they say, okay, bears had their turn. They brought it down a bit. Great, good, fine. Congratulations, bear. Nice, open, great. My turn. And they start buying it at 120, and we're on our way. Oscar Mike, on the move. Okay? So in my mind, it's probably gonna do something like this. Okay. Hey, Maida. Hey, Maida, did you spend some time on that seasonality training from yesterday? Did you go through the charts? I know you asked multiple times about seasonality. I was wondering if that was helpful and if you found a pattern that you liked and understood, or just you're still absorbing. Hey, Roger. Rolu. Roger's like, hey, how about the big reset? So we talked about that yesterday as well. Right on. That's good. That makes me feel good, Maida. All right. Okay. So there you go. Yeah, the position pivots work. Let me just reset all this. Let's do... well, we can do monthly. We can do weekly. We can do daily. I know that doesn't quite add up. And monthly, weekly, daily. 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour. Cool. Coolio. Okay. So what does this say on the daily chart? This should drop to 21, and we're done for the day. Okay? And we're probably done for the week. 21 and done. By now you should have somehow realized what you got to do. I don't believe that anybody feels the wind. So yeah, so like I said, I don't really feel like doing anything today. I don't want to. Actually, I want to. I just don't want to talk. Bitcoin back to 40. So I did some research on mining Bitcoin with my son because he's interested in hardware as well as software now. And so the other day we took apart one of my trading machines and we looked at everything, and it was a nice little machine, hot swappable and all that kind of stuff. Essentially a mini server. And so we went, and he's like, so what is this and what is that? And he was new enough where I'm like, well, that's the solid state. That's the hard disk. You know, we went through all these things. And he's like, and what's this little thing? I'm like, oh, that's the video card. What's a video card? Oh, well, it's a GPU. Oh, a GPU. He's like, it's the smallest GPU I've ever seen in my life. Because I bought him a computer last year, and the GPU's like this big. And he's like, wow, it won't run my games. I want something more powerful. Then he does some research, and you can't buy GPUs right now. Every GPU in the world has been sold because of Bitcoin. Suddenly everyone wants to mine. So anyway, but he was interested. Now he wants to, we're thinking about getting him a bare bones, and he builds his own computer from there. And, and again, anything to support his interest. But I showed him a mining rig, and I'm like, this is where all your GPUs are going, because this one is a small mining rig. It's got 6 GPUs. Each GPU costs like $1,000. But so we talked about mining and how you can go into pools and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, wow. So I'm like, do you want to invest? because my kid's got a lot of money. So I'm like, do you want to invest? I can buy this mining rig with one GPU, and then over time, if GPU prices come down or the availability comes back, we just add more. Think of each one as a worker. And he's like, okay, so what is it, right? So anyways, here's what you do. You buy $1,500 for the rig and the software and stuff and one GPU, and it's a mediocre GPU. And you earn somewhere between $2 to $5 a day after you pay for your electricity. Your profit, theoretically, but now you got to pay to be in part of your pool. But $2 to $5 a day. No, well, I'll show you what it is. I'll show you what I looked at anyways. But I did some research, and I'm like, okay, well, in a year, you get your money back. Maybe, probably in 2 years, you'll get your money back. But maybe in 1. So this is where I went to. Shark Mining. Oh, is that their website? This is the website. Here it is. Nice, right? And it's not even running Windows because that sucks. So it's running its own operating system directly into the mining process of being in a pool and everything. So pretty nice, right? But it's neat, right? And these are all the graphic cards and stuff. And so it's funny, like my old machines have a whole bunch of graphic cards in them because I was running 18 monitors, right? But anyways. Yeah, that one's nice. Yeah. And they're actually, I thought it was cheap. So I talked to my wife. I'm like, I'm thinking about buying this just to keep the kid focused and interested. I'll show you. It's actually not that much. Let me bring it back up. And you go to Shark Pro Kit, I think it is. Okay, so what you do is that's not it. Maybe it's just a mini. Yeah, here we go. So you get the kit and the touch screen, and it's less than $2,000. But there's only one GPU, I think. There's one of them where you get one GPU. So each GPU is earning, let's say, $3 a day. Right? So you're making $1,000 a year. So he's like, no, I don't want to invest. I'm like, why? It's just you're so much money up front and you have to use it for a year. Yeah, so again, I'm looking into the difference between those. That would be for Ethereum. But anyways. And he's like, yeah, but, you know, it's only a tiny bit of money. And I'm like, well, all right, you're making $3 a day per card. What if you had 1,000 cards? Now you're making $3,000 a day. You're making $100,000 a month. Like, anyways. So right now, because of Bitcoin and everything else following it, every video card in the world that has any reasonable power is gone. No, HK, that's after that. I did the calculations. The assumptions on the electricity consumption is 0.1 whatever kilowatts and stuff, the cost. And I looked it up for Atlanta, and it was almost spot on. In fact, Atlanta is cheap compared to the rest of the United States average. It's actually more reasonable. But anyways, I just wanted to show them, right? I just wanted to show them, A, investing, B, the hardware aspect, C, trading. Like now you'd have to pay attention to the financial markets and stuff. And Yeah, so now, but we can then talk about these things, right? So you must go big. Well, what we call that is economy of scale. Economies of scale, right? So if that gave them a lesson, then good. Okay. All right. So we wanted to do some CAD versus oil, which we've done 100 times in the last 3 days. But let's go here. Okay. This is still a buy, right? And a work. This is still a buy. If you're a bear, you're either looking for a lower low or a lower high. Right? Did I say bear? I said bear. I meant buy. Yeah, no, I said buy. Yeah, this is a buy. This is a buy if you're a bull. And bears are looking for, like, call it a triple top or whatnot. Or they're looking for lower low, lower high, down. One or the other. We did that yesterday, Alton. Just rewatch yesterday's. Right? Right? So, like, for example, I'm approximately 5% return on investment in 2 days on my trade. Based on interest. That's the carry. But I've doubled my money plus 5% in 2 days. All right. So what this means is oil's going nowhere fast. I listened to a discussion at Goldman Sachs about the oil industry. It was very interesting. So if you're a Goldman Sachs client, you go to the podcast section of your back office. And it was just, kind of everything we've talked about, but it's nice because they had just completed the Goldman Sachs conference on energy and stuff like that. So they had traders, investors, producers, transporters. So it's pretty interesting to hear what they're talking about. And, of course, the question is, what's 2021 going to be like? Both the supply and demand of oil, but also the macroeconomic forces of the country and of the globe. So, very interesting. It's just the conclusion is everything we've talked about is, seems to be spot on. Well, Ash, you're saying two things. Project oil will go higher. Do you mean prices or inventories? Because I assumed you said higher, but then you said more rigs are online. But that doesn't make sense because that would be lower. That would push. But the interesting part is that Goldman Sachs, having talked to the shale producers in the United States, just imagine, I think the numbers are roughly this. 10 years ago, before shale, we were producing 5 million barrels a day, and now we peaked out in 2019 fairly close to 15 million a day. I think it might be 13 or 14, but let's just call it 15 because it's such a ginormous, right? Move, right? 300%. And what they were doing here, these corporations, they were producing the oil, but they were so aggressively investing their cash to get access that they actually, even though they were producing and oil prices were pretty reasonable, they're actually not very profitable because they were just throwing money around like crazy. And then we had OPEC problem, and then we had COVID, and all of a sudden, holy crapola. Okay, and oil prices went to zero. They shut actually profitable producing oil wells were suddenly not profitable anymore. So they even mothballed the best that they had, not the worst. So what happened was they went through this lean period, and they changed their process to be more conservative. And so one of the discussions is, as oil prices go up, see, 3 years ago, if oil went up $2, all of a sudden production would drop 25%. Because suddenly they're like, it was just enough money to be profitable. So boom, kind of like the Bitcoin mining, right? If you're making $2 a day, well, then you just need 1,000 rigs. You need 1,000 GPUs. Okay, well, what's the problem with that? Well, now you're making $2,000 a day, but you just spent $2 million on your rigs, right? See, producing oil and Bitcoin is very similar that way, where you're like, okay, you've just threw away $2 million in cash and you have all these machines now. What do you do if Bitcoin drops from 30,000 to 3,000 again? Are you still profitable? Maybe not, right? But you're earning this money. Now you're earning 20 cents a day versus $2 and whatever, right? And you can see how it impacts you. And so American oil companies, clients of Goldman Sachs, have told Goldman Sachs that they're much more conservative now. Like, they got enough, they can produce enough. They're not going to just ramp up oil production because there's costs. And also there's a process that has to happen, which actually takes some time. So if oil goes to $75, right, which is a 50% increase, oil production might only go up 30%. And it'll take a while before that ramps in. So that leaves more upside room, okay? So that's why I bring it up here, where we're spot on basically on global demand, but they're working on more of the supply side of the equation. So if you recall, I taught you, there was a webinar I did, 5 weeks ago on how to trade oil. One of the things we talked about was, demand for oil. All right, that should be blue. Let's make that blue. Well, now I have to fix that. Okay. So demand. Okay. Why is demand downward sloping? It's one of the first questions they teach you in economics. If you're in economics class, be prepared by the third class to mathematically explain why the downward demand curve is down, or the demand curve is downward sloping. Well, if prices are high, you're only going to buy 1 unit. If prices are middle, you're going to buy 5 units. If the price is super low, now the price is down here, you're going to buy 10. You're going to buy more as price drops. You're going to buy less as price rises, right? So that's how you read this chart. So at this price, you'll buy that many units, okay? At this price, you'll buy this many units. And at this price, you'll buy this many units, okay? So the cheaper it is, the more you buy. And then you map the curve, and then there's indifference curves, and then obviously it's not quite your curve. It could be like this and all that. Okay, great. But let's get rid of this one. The discussion of Goldman was that we were pretty accurate in our outlook for demand, but now having spoken with buyers and sellers, the producers of oil, which are clients because they have to borrow money from Goldman, they're saying supply won't shift as quickly as demand will increase. Okay? So demand will increase and we'll always have not quite enough oil. Okay? So like one way you might do this is demand shifts, or supply too shifts here, but demand moves much more. Okay, supply goes up, but demand goes up more than supply, and you get upward move in price. Okay. So anyway, so there's two parts of that, right? Right, master trader. So your shift typically in a basic model, you shift one curve. When you're in a final exam, they'll write out this big whole long thing, this big question with, like 2 paragraphs worth of information. And they'll say things like, in this economy, demand shifts, then supply shifts, and then there's a new shift, for example, and then the Fed steps in and or something happens. What should we move? And this shifts again, and you're going like, you're drawing all this, and you're like, equilibrium 1 to 2 and to 3, and you're like, wait, which one was the equilibrium again? And like, was it this? Was it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And you could easily just mess up. And 90% of the time, your professor that teaches you economics don't speak English good and can't write a question worth a damn. So you're like, what the hell is the damn question? Is he talking this or that, or what is it? And then, of course, they're like, is it A to C to D to E, or is it A to D to C to E, or is it A to E? And you're like, oh my God, I have to go through. I don't like those questions, right? But anyways, you're like, screw you and your stupid curves. All right. So you have to decide, what does this mean for oil for you today, next week, next month, and the rest of the year? And then you play it out on the kitty cat, which was the next part of the question. Okay. Are you playing it kitty cat yen yen? Okay. Look at this. Look at that. Remember we drew this? Look at that. Up, 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 up here, somewhere around 82.50. Well, how about 82? Anyways, very cool, right? Okay. And look at how it's calculating things like standard deviation and stuff, right? But look at pivot points. The low of the last period, the high of the last period. You ready? You're going to have an aha moment, so pay attention here. You ready? So we call that support, and we call that resistance. Dumbass of what? Interesting, right? You're like, wait, is that what pivot points are doing? Uh-huh. That's why they work. They just make it clear for many people. Then you have to ask yourself, if that's S&R, in the middle is high, low, close, so there's a weighted now average, which is a sentiment, right? Then you have to say, well, what are the midpoints, which are, and you essentially get a form of standard deviation. Boy, it's really important you understand the math of what you do instead of like worshiping MACD. MACD, if I burn 3 candles today, will you help me make money? Please, RSI, please. Okay. Today is going to be the day. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, are you feeling lucky, punk? Yeah, VWAP. That's so funny how that got into the joke. All right. All right. Well, of course, I like step downs in a downtrend. I don't like whatever this is. Feel the way I do about you now. Okay, so we hit support and we stopped, so that must be a double bottom. Oh, snap. Back the truck up. Did you see that? How did I do that? I understand what pivot points are telling me. Ha, 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 ha. If you know it's bouncing on S1, you're like, oh, that's a double bottom. Isn't it interesting? If you know the math, you can show me a chart, not always, but let's say in this case, very obvious because I'm teaching it to you. But you can look at a chart and say, oh, I can't see anything to the left of this chart, but I know it's a double bottom. Isn't that interesting? That if you understand the math properly, if you understand how your indicators work properly, you can say, oh, that's a double bottom. You're like, no, Wayne, it's lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low. Why would you say it's a double bottom? So let me change the template here to just weekly, for example. Okay. So, right, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low. And I'm like, oh, look at that. It's a double bottom. And you say to me, wait, I don't see a double bottom. Where? This little thing? No, the whole thing is a double bottom from what you can't see to the left. What do you mean? How would you possibly know that? How would you possibly know that this here is a double bottom on a higher time frame? How would you possibly know? I'm like, well, let's take a look. La 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 la. You're like, well, how the effing did you do that? Okay. There are so many things, right? I want to say to you. Oh, wrong one. But I don't know how. Said maybe. I want to be the one that. All right. So, anyways, cool, right? Yeah, new trader. Well, like anything, it's a negotiation. So we might just see an anomaly. That's a hard one. Anomaly in which someone has negotiated with a counterparty, maybe some form of risk of not the Fed raising interest rates in 2 years versus 3 years, but instead of some other sort of risk that's not indicative of the price. And they said, well, so we're going to change the price slightly because of the perceived deal with you, which might not be a macro issue, it might be an individual firm issue or some other form of risk, right? And there's a slight price discrepancy because of that perceived increase of risk and the negotiation that was settled upon, which is different from everything else. Typically, in that kind of finance, it's literally a mathematical equation. It's not even really a negotiation. It's a negotiation when you really truly believe there's a high probability of the rate changing, reasonably soon, and then the debate is when. So if the Fed is going to raise a quarter point, well, is it in the March meeting or the June meeting? Or are they going to wait to September? Because when they do it is even more important than the how much, because when will affect the time value of money. Because if it goes up faster, then it eats through the profit of the original deal sooner, and then you would have to adjust the pricing. Because they don't say, well, you're going to pay me this interest rate at one point and you're going to pay me this other interest rate at another point because the Fed changed. You can't do that because it's a contract. It has a price, a time, a yield, and a maturity date, right? So in that case, what they do is they adjust the price. Okay? And so they're both working on this asymmetric information problem where neither party really knows when or at when rates will change, or if they will change, and if they do change, and by how much, and then they have to negotiate this, and it's all reflected in price. It's kind of like like buying a used car. If you have some uncertainty about the car, you're like, okay, the miles are reasonable, but something bugs me, right? Something bugs me. There's just something I'm not sure about this car. I mean, I'm not sure. Is that a tappet noise? Are you sure the transmission's good? And you're playing around with the transmission. I'm like, yeah. And then, but there's just something that bugs you, and you're like, okay, I like it, but I'm not so sure. Something I'm getting the heebie-jeebies, but I'll offer you $500 less, right? And that's how you deal with it. You don't even know why you're not 100% in, but you say like, okay, I'll take the risk on this one, but it's going to cost you $500, right? And that's how you negotiate. So the price is just some indicative of some sort of risk. And remember, it was a tiny percentage, right, New Trader? It was such a tiny percentage that it's really not reflective of the market. Okay? But it's a real risk, right? Lots of people go into the hospital with COVID-19 and they're like, okay, well, welcome to the hospital. We'll get you sorted out. And you're like, well, how many people die in my situation? Oh, well, no, 97 to 98% of people in your situation live. And you're like, oh, that's good. Same thing with like 97% of people on that Fed meeting believe the Fed won't raise interest rates. Okay? But it ain't 100%. Okay? Because as you know, 4,500 people die a day, and every time they go to the hospital, the doctor says, well, you have a 97% chance of living. Cool. How many people here live in southern states in the U.S.? Not just the South, but like if I drove from L.A. to Atlanta taking, the 10, and I'm going through Albuquerque, New Mexico or something, and working my way to El Paso, and then right? And then you work your way through Texas and up Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and back to Georgia. Does anyone live along that corridor? Like if we stopped and had dinner or a cigar or something? Kenyatta? Yeah. Take the Yellowhead, huh? All the way? Greg does? What part of the world, Gregor? We can go for a steak and cigars somewhere. To make you jealous about what, HK? Oh, Escondito. I'm thinking about buying a car. There's a couple of cars around. Do a trading world tour. I think Rob Booker's already done that. Southern Kansas. Oh, yeah? Lucas, it's Southern Kansas. There's no... It's Kansas is all north. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I just thought we could meet up. I thought it'd take, you can get home in 3 days. I thought it'd take, 7 days to get home. Well, I didn't forget Arizona. Just throwing down some states. Yeah. European tour. Yeah, it'd be interesting after COVID. Right. I would do things. I think I'd do things like Turkey, Mexico, Bulgaria. You're like, what? Why would you do all that? I'll just buy in your car, Callie. Well, all right. I don't want to talk about this long, but it fits into a lesson, right? So the car isn't important. The lesson I've taught you is never, ever, 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 ever spend your money, right? You only invest money. There's very few cars in this world where they're an investment. The difference between spend and invest is you trade cash for a cash flow, meaning if you bought a car and you sell it one day for more than you paid for it, then you've had a positive cash flow. Cool, right on. Cars don't generally do that. You buy money and you throw money away. Wait. I could have invested that money and made money. So like for every $1,000, if you made 50% return every year, right? You know, it's worth more, right? I mean, it's just to go from a positive cash flow to a negative cash flow. Like the worst thing you could do is take money out of your Forex account and buy a Lamborghini. And now you're like, but dude, that money was going to grow over the course of 10 years. That 200,000 could have been 5 million. So you just paid $5 million for a used Lamborghini, which by the way, costs you $2,000 a month in insurance, right? And then $2,000. I used to on my AMG. I had a full AMG car, and I spent more than $1 per mile on maintenance. My wife hated that car. More than $1 per mile in maintenance alone. So imagine a Lambo. It's even worse. Every time you take it for a spin, it costs you $50 to go to the grocery store, right? In your Lambo. So anyways, I don't like spending money. So I always want like a deal, and I always want like the depreciation to be through and all that kind of stuff. Like, I just don't want to. Yeah, I'm a cheapskate. So, anyways, I look for deals. I'm an entrepreneur. I can't waste money. I'm an entrepreneur. I like making money. So, if I'm going to buy something, I need some sort of perceived deal, even if it's not. So anyways, every once in a while you're like, oh well, LA's got a lot of cars, Miami's got a lot of cars, New York's got a lot of cars. In LA, they've all been smashed up and repaired. In Florida, they've all gone through floods. In New York, they've all been stolen once, right? So you got to be careful. All right. Boo-doo-doo. All right, so we'll just continue with this. Okay. So I've drawn all of this out for you. We drew it before it made the lower low. Now it's made the lower low. It's come back up. It's now moving along. Do I need a car? No. I've gone years and years and years and years without a car. Years and years. I haven't had a car 5 or 6 years. So maybe it's time to get a car. So anyways, I bought my wife a Beamer a year ago, and she wanted a small SUV. So she's like, I want a Toyota RAV4. I'm like, oh my God, I can't buy you a Toyota RAV4. But let's go to BMW. Because I went and checked out the small SUV for Mercedes, and the back seat slopes. They want to make it aerodynamic or something. And so it's low in the back seat. I'm like, okay, my kids aren't that big, but still, the back seat is too tight. So we go to BMW, and the X1 is nice. The X1 is nice. The X3, in fact, the X1 has the same interior space as an X3, even though it's smaller. So I get it all M'd out. Everything is M'd. Everything is upgraded and everything, and we get it. And A, it's too small. I'm like, I told you. So now if we want to go camping and stuff, like 4 people with suitcases and a tent and a cooler, and like, oh my God, it's too small. I'm like, I told you. And she hates cup holders. So anyway, so we're going to get rid of that. And I'll buy her a damn Toyota. And then I'm like, well, we still need something to go camping in, right? So, and I'm going to do yard work. So I need a runabout, right? So I'll probably buy a runabout. Just something to go to Home Depot in. Something that can pull a trailer. I was thinking about buying a Raptor. It's silly. I don't really want to do it anymore. You're flipping an E63 right now? Yeah, that's a nice car. So do I need a car? Nah, it's just something, I don't know. Yeah, just if my wife wants a sedan, all right, I'll buy her a damn anything she wants. We'll get her something. Toyotas are so cheap, they're like free. So like, just go find something, go through, find a pretty color. Well, it's done. It's done. Don't worry about it. Don't even ask about the price. Just done. And there'll be so much money left over. I'm just like, okay. So I'll get myself a runabout. Oh, you do the salvage and flip. Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't want to buy a salvage title, but that's a nice car. I know what you're doing. That's great. That'd be a fun hobby. It's work, though, right? It's work. Understand what you're doing. If you're doing it for fun, it's fun. If you're doing it for work, like that's your side hustle and pays the mortgage while you're figuring out Forex, I also understand how much work it becomes and, that kind of stuff. All right, so let me get Trade the News going in the background. Trade the News. Yeah, even though I haven't owned a car for 5 years, I've owned more than...
You're listening to
more than
Trade
100
the
for
News.
sure. Maybe closer to 200. No, not 200. 100. I'd guess probably 130 cars.
See some Canadian data top there. The December existing.
They all suck, by the way.
To be up 6%. Probably was
All
down
of them.
1.6%. Canadian data due at the top of the hour. We'll get some U.S. data quarter past the next hour. The December industrial production and capacity utilization data. That U.S. data in just over 15 minutes. We'll put the preview out after the top of the hour.
Well, Steve, the central bank changes interest rates. Okay. It's not like your broker is going, we're going to pay this much today, and we might change it tomorrow. No, it's set by the country. Yeah. So anybody going to short the USD CAD?
December Canada existing home sales data in just a few seconds.
There are so many things I'd like to say to you.
Bank of Italy publishing their macroeconomic forecast, saying GDP to shrink 9.2% in 2020. They expect GDP to expand 3.5% in 2021 and 3.8% in 2022. This is the Bank of Italy out with some forecasts.
Well, Felipe says, do you think it'll be, last year it was a killing of a general, do you think this year it will be riots? Well, it's already happened, right? It's already happened. So but would it be, is it possible that there's a continuation based on the riots?
7.2%.
Not likely.
6% expected.
Ultimately, nobody cares about news like this. This is like China having, fits and spurts of anger against the Japanese over islands. And it's all really interesting news, but it's not relevant to economics. Okay? Now, there could be some short-term perceived, dollar strength, but I don't think so, because we're already preparing for next year. Like, who cares about what happens next week kind of thing. Yeah. So you might get some scalps out of it, a day trade or two, but ultimately it doesn't actually matter. Okay. Did we not get some CAD news? I thought we had CAD news coming out. They didn't even announce it, huh? Existing home sales, month over month, 7.2%. Holy smokes, huh? Good job, Canada. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Retail sales in America, disappointing right now. Just wait, people get their checks, right? Said maybe. Okay, so when they get their checks, they're going to spend it. No. No, I think Canadian retail sales already came out, didn't it? Am I reading this wrong? Said maybe. This is it here, isn't it? Record year for Canadian home sales. Ottawa, Ontario, January 15th. That's today! Statistics released today by the Canadian Real Estate Association show national home sales set for another all-time record in December 2020. National home sales rose 7.2%. That's what I just called out. On a month-over-month basis. That's crazy. Number of newly listed properties climbed by 3.4%. See, right now in America, there's not enough houses for sale. Home price index rose 1.5% month over month, was up 13% year over year. Wow, prices are going up big time. And they're selling. Said
25 minutes or
maybe.
so to the opening bell. We've seen stock futures drift lower here, led by the S&P minis, which are now down 0.5%. The Nasdaq 100 futures are down about 0.2%. We're still seeing declines of more than 1% in the CAC or on the DAX, the Spanish IBEX.
Look at that. Whew. Crazy. Wow. Wow. Just no inventory in Canada, even though it's rising, there's still not enough. Two-story single-family homes. What does this tell you? People are moving out of the city. So apartments are way down here, townhouses. So people are moving out of the city and into the suburb. Look at that. Holy smokes, eh? Look at that. Moving to the suburbs. Nice. They're getting out of Calgary and moving to Cochrane. Boop-boop-boop-doo. Wow. Yeah. Hot, right? Coming out hot. Yeah, Jean-Guy, where do you move to? Anywhere but Manitoba. So anyways, yeah, so the news came out. Do you guys want a link to this? Sure, let me get you a link. Said maybe. Yeah. Isn't it nice to just look at the stats and not listen to talking heads on TV? A giant shortage. Wow. COVID. Yeah, just amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a friend of mine, I went there right as the weekend they closed New York City. I was in New York City. Took a bunch of boot campers out. We went out. We had cocktails and snacks on the roof of the Harvard Club in Midtown. Then we jumped in Ubers and went up to the Carnegie Club for cigars and more cocktails. And along the way, though, I think the day before, the day after, I guess the day after. Anyways, one of the days I hung out with one of my Harvard buddies, and he's like, "Oh, you got to check out my penthouse that I just got. It's on Park Avenue." I'm like, "Oh, sounds good." So I go to his Park Avenue penthouse apartment, and you know, it's like the size of my bathroom. No, like, no joke, not the size of the bathroom, but my master bedroom would be bigger than his entire apartment. You don't live Bloomberg? Well, I have it behind me. So I'll show you here. We'll go back to here. This is CNBC. Oh, no, there's my hand. Okay, this is CNBC, and this is CBC Canada. Oh, for sure, eh? Yeah, I got the Canadian news going on here and American news over there. Globally informed, yo. Globally informed. Yeah, seems about right. Oh, you mean as a trading platform? I don't really care. No. It's a good way to buy or sell Rolexes, though. Did you guys know that? A Bloomberg terminal has like a built-in message board system that only other people with Bloomberg terminals can see. So it's private. That way a trader can only talk to sort of like a licensed, registered, wealthy trader. Professional to professional, right? Therefore, you can look for counterparties and do all your research and all that kind of stuff. So part of that is there's a message board, and this is where if you want to sell your Ferrari or sell your Rolex or a timeshare on a yacht, that kind of stuff, that's where they sell it. So if you want to pick up a 5-year-old Rolex for cheap, there's always some trader that's hitting margin call and suddenly he needs to dump his Rolex for cash. Ciao. And you know he's legit because he's licensed and registered on his terminal. You know who he is or she, right? So anyways, yeah, so seriously. So you have to pay your terminal fees, which are, a couple of grand a month, right? But yeah, that's how you do it to meet people. It's like a dating service. Oh, honey, you're beautiful. What's your Bloomberg ID? I'll text you. Yeah, $2,000. Like, yeah. For a research tool, I mean, it's nothing. Who cares, right? Maybe. All right. So we can look at some dollar. No, we did all right. See, I'm just go back to commodities. All right. What do you want to do with Bitcoin? Is it down from here? Did you sell it at 40 or what? What do you want to do? Well, currently what we have going is double top, down, 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 up, up, sell, down, 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 up, sell, down, 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 up, sell, down, 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 up, sell. Okay? If you think you're a bear from here. Bulls, yeah, have to pay attention in here, but depends on how you play it. If you're just scalping it, you're just scalping it, right? So the proper price for selling this, by the way, let's just very quickly jump into a 5-minute chart on Biddy. Your proper sell zone is in here. Okay. Yes, yeah, Master Trader. Sweetie. Hey, sweetie. What do you trade? Oh, cheer up. Don't be so distressed.
Just under a minute now to our next data. December industrial production expected 0.5%. Manufacturing production also expected 0.5%. Capacity utilization expected 73.6%.
So here's another stock that I'm thinking about maybe doing something about. I want this to come down below 50. I'm interested in buying this. Does anyone have an idea why? Okay. By the way, in the last 6 months,
Senior trade officials
they went from 23 to 60.
With Biden on priorities
70.
for trade.
23 to 70 in 6 months.
December industrial production and capacity utilization in just a few seconds.
Yeah, the Apple deal. Yeah. Well, no, I think it's a JV. It's not merging.
Production 1.6%, above 0.5% expected. Manufacturing production 0.9% is 4/10 higher than expected. Capacity 74.5%, above a 73.6% expectation.
So here we are. Industrial production, capacity utilization released just now. It's been out for 8 seconds. Here it is. So let's take a look at the numbers. Nice little increase. Everything's going up. In fact, a little hot. Construction materials, yeah, quite a bit. That's good. Because that would have been low during COVID. So I was going to have some work done in the house, and I called the guy that gave me an estimate like 6 months earlier. I called him just after COVID, and I'm like, "Are you even working?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm working." And I'm like, "Let's do that project. Can you come down a bit?" And he's like, "No, dude, everything's gone up since I gave you that quote. Everything, all the materials." And he's like, I ain't budging on that price. I mean, I'll stick to it, but I ain't coming down." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, lumber is doubled." Right? So anyway, so it looks like we're producing a lot of that material, getting that back. So that's interesting. Capacity utilization, pretty low still. So production's going up, but relative to our capacity, it's still very low. Although, right? Wait, where are we now? So we're still below 2019. Okay, we're still pretty low. Although we're not far off average, but we're below average, so we're below the mean. But we have the right trajectory, 71.8, 72.3, 72.3, 73, 73.4. So we're going in the right direction, and the month over month is pretty decent. Manufacturing, growing, mining. Mining's actually doing pretty well, huh? Mining way up. Utilities. Hey, look at that. Demand, huh? Energy demand. Anyways, that's going in the right direction. 74.5, but we're way below average here. Manufacturing again. Everything's below average, but going in the right direction. Cool. Okay. So here's this. Sorry it took me 18 seconds to pull up the live report after it was released. Sorry it took so long. Said maybe. Pretty nice, right? Said maybe. So if you want to know my Forex trading career, I was a VC, but trading Forex when we crossed. So I remember where I was when this happened. So it should have been pink. When we broke parity and the euro was worth more than $1. I remember that moment where I was standing, what room I was in. I remember watching it, and I believe I had traded this up. This move was my first year, I think, of trading currencies. I got my dad involved in everything, and we were just making money like crazy. It was just funny. It was so easy. No charts. Not really. Did we have a chart? Maybe not even a chart. I think I was paying $200 a month or something for charts, but I wasn't quite sure because I didn't know any technical analysis. But what you do is you would buy Euro USD, and 3 hours later, it was weird. There's this button that would say buy Euro USD. So you buy it, and I'll never forget my dad. You'd buy it, then he'd take his dog for a walk around the block. He'd come back and he'd made a couple $100. Then he'd buy it and he'd make lunch and sit on the back deck and eat a sandwich and come in and he made another couple $100. That's how my currency trading life started. It was just funny. It was like we didn't know why or how or where or what. I was so naive. I didn't even know there was news. So somewhere in here, I ran into my first non-farm payrolls, and I'll never forget that. I'm like, what the F just happened? It was unbelievable. I'm like, what the hell was that? And apparently news mattered. So that was a learning process, right? Okay. You guys know what these gray areas are when you're using Fred data? Oh yeah, the new. Which one are you talking about, Master Trader? Trading economics? So these are recessions. Not stock market, no. Recessions. So do you remember me talking about I moved to Georgia? I sold everything. I moved to Georgia and the stock market was still going up. Do you remember that story? Sold everything, my house, retirement accounts, just went to cash. And moved my wife. We had 2 babies. One was like 3 months old and the other one was like a year old. Like we had 2 kids that are like 14 months apart.
Now down about 0.4%.
Then I get to Georgia and the stock market was still going up.
65 low.
And I was really worried I'd made a mistake.
From the lows seen in the last half hour.
This is the period right here. So I exited.
European equity markets remain down more than 1% for the CAC 40, the DAX, and the Spanish IBEX. The FTSE 100 is down just shy of 1%. U.S. bond prices are off the best levels of the day, but largely holding gains with the 10-year down 3 basis points, just below 1.1%. That 2-10-year spread holding around 95.5 basis points. The dollar index consolidating up about 1/3% at 90.58. We're seeing some marginal weakness in commodities, namely precious metals. Gold and silver futures are trading lower. Gold down about 0.5%. WTI crude down more than 1%.
So the other thing that was going on in this period, we had waited weeks and weeks and weeks for this double top. We actually cheered at the double top. And we like, I mean, you have to understand that that was like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then we traded this on the pound yen day after day after day, just ridiculously crushing it. And then I built a golf course in my backyard and I called it the pound yen. I don't even know why I had a name for it. It was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. It was just like unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was just an amazing period. So out here, in here, out long, out, short. Oh, just, it was crazy. Wonderful. And I did every single day on FX Bootcamp. Every single day we got together with the group. Every single day we traded that down. It was just crazy. That during that period too was when I'd make like $2 every single day, $1 or $2 every single day trading oil. But the thing is, I'd do it in like 6 minutes. So for you guys that trade oil now, if you made $1 on oil today, that's a good day. I would do that. So like sometimes I would be up $2 on oil. So let's say it fell from 60 to 58. And I've only been in the trade for 2 minutes and I made $2. Then I would exit. And by the time the trade closed, right, this is on the old GFT platform, I may have made no money, right? Like it could have come back all the way to 60. Or maybe it comes all the way to 59, which means I'd lose half my profit or all my profit in a matter of like 4 seconds. So it was literally, I'd hit out, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'd wait, I'm like, no, shoot, you're kidding me, oh man, oh, too bad, oh, I had it, oh man, right, like literally, that's what it was like during these times, that's what trading was like, okay? There's a story too I tell about the time when a gap traded against me. And I'm guessing, let's see if I can narrow in on this. Something in here, whatever this is. But this we set up, no problem. There was a dark period of my life. Oh my God. So I'll never forget that time it gapped against me and I was down like an unbelievable amount of money. And I had to wait using my knowledge of how to trade a gap. And it was like the longest 2 hours of my life. And I made back most of my loss because it gapped somehow against me. No, these are weeks, not gaps, but there's something going on here. I remember also in this time period, things like just being up all night, like all-nighters. I remember I had a side patio outside my office at that house. And I remember like smoking cigars outside, staring through the window, watching the charts, right? Like a fish staring out of his aquarium. I'm like, oh, right, watching the charts, watching the TV, enjoying myself. But at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So anyways, it's pretty funny. Funny days, funny how, right? So there's a lot of history here, but pretty interesting, right? That you can just pull this up anytime you want. I already did USD CAD. I did it earlier today. I did it yesterday. I did it the day before. It's the same. You're either getting ready to sell it for next week or you're not paying attention to next week at all, which means it doesn't matter. Okay? Roger says, yeah, good time because it teaches you stuff. Well, that's why I'm sharing, right? Like, there's a process to how I've gotten to where I am, and, it's scary stuff. Like, I remember with GFT, there was a glitch in the matrix somewhere in here as well. I forget the exact number, but the platform, remember the volatility we had. And there was some sort of platform error, and I lost something like, honestly, I can't remember. It was either 5,000 or like 25,000. I don't remember. And I'm like, fudge, right? So anyway, so I called GFT. So I have the dealing desk on speed dial. I remember at the time, if you hit number 1 on speed dial, I got the GFT dealing desk. If you hit number 2, you got my wife. Right? So anyways, I call the dealing desk. I'm like, oh my God, you just glitched me. Right? And he's like, oh, well, let me do some research and I'll call you back. Right? But I'm like, dude, you owe me 25 grand. But like, I'm sitting there like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, right? They're not going to do it. So anyways, a half an hour goes by. My phone rings, GFT dealing desk. Great. So I pop it up. They're like, thank you, sir. Yes, we did some research and stuff. And we do see it. We do see the glitch that occurred, right? Whatever it was, I can't remember. So we've credited you back the 25,000. And I'm like, really? Right? Because I also had an FXCM account, and one time there was a glitch, and it was like $50. And anyway, so I call them. And they're like, well, sir, if you read the contract that you signed with FXCM, right? If you read the terms of the agreement, it's a risk that you take when you trade online. I'm like, dude, you're an online platform. Well, you could call us. I'm like, nobody calls you to place a trade. Well, it's a risk you assume when you trade online. There could be server errors. There could be internet errors, right? Your connection could be bad. Our connection could be bad. The just general traffic on the internet could be bad. There could be cyber attacks. There could be hacks. There's all kinds of things that could go wrong. So bottom line, if you read the terms of your agreement, we don't give a crap if you lost money on that transaction. Screw you on the $50. GFT's like, all right, we'll give you that 25K. You're like, oy vey. So anyways, those were the days. Yeah. Yeah, I knew everybody over there. So at GFT, I had my own dealing desk. So there were 2 full-time employees, or maybe 3, I guess, 3 full-time employees. And the process and the dealing desk itself was overseen by the NFA. So the NFA visited Michigan or wherever they are. They're in Michigan, right? And we had our own rule book. So there were rules and regulations that the NFA was very, very interested in. So like the thing is, like if there was a problem with a trade and it's 3:00 in the morning, what is the procedure to get me on the phone? Right? There had to be a written procedure overseen not just by the trading desk, but the traders on the trading desk, but the management had to oversee, right? The management of GFT had to oversee these processes that the dealing desk then had to execute. And then the NFA oversaw the management and had to approve the whole thing. So that's how serious my trading was at GFT. Ciao. And off we go.
Trade official weighed in saying that they're working on the eve of
crazy amounts of
a digital tax dispute.
Costs and regulations. But so I knew everybody over there. For example, Mohammed was the guy that made the deal book and the deal book 360. The deal book 2, the deal book 360. So I've talked to him personally because we were doing some customizations for it, for me. So it was pretty good. We had a good relationship. Master Trader says brokers were really ruthless way back. There were lots of scumbag scam artists for sure. One of the best ones, I think it was called One World or something like that. And everyone used them to carry trade. And everyone was short Japanese yen. And then one day the yen got strong and there was no other side of the market. There was nobody on the platform to offset people. And so the clients lost like a boatload of money because, of course, they're being traded against. I mean, that's the only way to do it. So anyway, back then, people called and complained to the SEC, and the SEC's like, dude, this isn't our jurisdiction. You should probably talk to the NFA. And the NFA is like, Forex? Retail Forex? What the hell is that? I mean, they were really taken aback by this. So anyway, so they go visit One World in Florida, right? And they show up. It's a couple of guys running a Forex broker out of their dorm room in college. And they're like, dude, your firm is bust and you're out like $200 million or something. I don't know if it was that big, but millions of dollars had been lost and people were suing them. They're like, dude, I couldn't get out of my trades. And they're like, well, we didn't actually enter your trades in the interbanking system. And there was no one to offset you because no one on our platform wanted to go short pound yen. Everyone was long pound yen. So we couldn't get people out. And so everybody lost everything. And it was just weird. Then that's what all it took to be back then to be a Forex broker was you just set up a machine in your dorm room. Now I think you need $20 million in cash just as your net cap requirements. Cave said, yeah, 360. Yeah, I did Dealbook 2, and then 360. The Dealbook 360 was a great platform, except it was a processor hog. So right now we're looking at Bitcoin on a 5-minute chart. The way that MetaTrader works is it's not running these other charts until I open them up. I mean, if that's not true, then it's certainly not running these. So let's say they're running all of this, even if I have this expanded, okay? Okay. Now, let's say it's running 6 charts, okay? Is it running all of these charts? So I'll go to CAD Yen, and that just loaded, okay? There's about a second delay. Not even, a half a second delay. And then I go back to commodities. And it loads these. And if you see it, it's updating. If you don't see it, it's not updating. So in the Dealbook 360, it was running all the charts, even the ones you weren't looking at. They weren't called profiles, they were called workspaces. And it was running all the charts all the time, always. And when you got to about 60 or 70 charts, it would just freeze and bomb. GFT, in my opinion, was forced out like many of the other brokers. So like I used to have dinner with Joseph Trezevani when he was over at Interbank FX. Marilyn McDonald was the vice president of marketing. There's one other guy that I liked over at Interbank FX and stuff. So you had these like second tier, you had top tier, second tier, and then lots of third tier fly-by-night brokers back then. So I was friends with many of the top tier and second tier brokers, and then the NFA changed the rules and forced all the second-tier guys out. So interbank FX went away, GFT went away, and all that kind of stuff, and was forced into sale with gain and with FXCM and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So Cave, they just got rid of it. That's all. They didn't want to support it. So, like, I've been to the FXCM headquarters. I've met Drew Niv. Buzzio was the vice president of marketing. I think at that time they just got rid of Kathy and Boris. And I think what they were considering was I would run Daily FX back then. And because otherwise, why was he meeting with me? And we had this discussion. I'm like, I don't want to run your thing, but we didn't say it directly, but we had a conversation, and they had just gone through that transaction, and then Kicklighter is there. I've met him a couple of times. He's a nice dude, but this next time I was over in that part of the world, Kicklighter's like, no, I don't want to meet with you. And I'm like, hey, I'm in town. Let's get together. Let's have lunch or something. Let's talk. And I'll never forget because he's like, no, I don't have time to meet with you. I'm like, dude, that's kind of rude. You can't even get a coffee with me? He's like, nah, yeah, no, yeah, you're in New York City. Who cares? I don't have time for you. So I thought, well, maybe there was some animosity or something. But it was funny because I was being followed by a camera crew when I was there, right? And there's a camera crew. There's this huge crowd of New Yorkers and tourists. They're like, who is that? Is that Brad Pitt? Is that Tom Cruise? I think it's Brad Pitt's brother, right? So anyway, so there I am with this huge crowd around me, and I shit you not. I'm looking through the crowd, and the cameramen, they're taking pictures and stuff. Sure enough, John Kicklighter walks by, and I'll never forget, he's holding his lattes. Is that Wayne? And I'm like, dude, you have the time for a coffee. What the hell, dude?
The dollar index holding on to gains.
It was really funny.
1/3% at 90.57.
You had the time.
Futures remain down 1.25%.
All right, WTI, just stir what it is. Biddy, so that scalp was really nice. XRP, it's amazing that it's even, I don't know if I could even trade it. Can you even trade it anymore? Pete's going to get mad at me. Of course you can trade it. XRP USD, okay. Yeah, looks like it. Not in the US, well. All right, cool. Said maybe.
Health Ministry official saying that they've been told that Pfizer will miss coronavirus vaccine delivery targets for the next few weeks. Franklin Echo.
That's insanity, this one. Holy smokes. What the hell? Look at that. Say maybe. It's hard to pin some sort of logic on here, huh? Anyone going to treat that as a double top? Is Trader's Way in the Caymans? No. BDD. So there's something going there. I don't know if you want to play it that way. I'm trying to find a time frame that so let's say let's day trade it bearishly, right? Let's take a look, reset it. Yeah, see, it's all very mediocre. I'm trying to find a time frame. Weekly pivots are okay. Daily, I don't know. But, yeah, interesting. This can be very choppy. Look at that. Like, there's no room to breathe. You're like, well, if you sold up high and you're trying to aim here, there's a lot of challenge. Like, huh. So anyways, we'll see. Okay, if you don't like kick ladder. Johnny? $988. So like, what's your target then? So I'm gonna try to put some like how should I do this? I think it's all kind of meaningless, right? So let's do position trading bullish since you're long. So there was a buy in November. There was a buy in December. You never got an opportunity in January. So how far out are you looking? We're already like, yeah, so the chance that has already occurred, so we've already missed it for February from a bullish point of view. See, that's tricky, man. That's scary. There's a lot of guesswork into that. So, like, I was telling you about the volatility and stuff of, like, 2008, 2009, 2010. We had huge, massive moves, right? But it moved better than this. This is a little bit nasty. But this is what, like, a 5-minute chart after non-farm payrolls would look like, where non-farm payrolls would gap 300 pips, then go up, down, 100 pips up and down, and then work its way up and then work its way down. Yeah, right? It was craziness. Right? And so that's how I got my methodology of let it gap, let it come back, and buy the retracement. Okay? That's how I developed that type of methodology. My high volatility event driven strategy. The thing with NFP now is it's not high volatility. There's still an event driven process, but compared to the old days, like what it does now is it pops up 38 pips and then stops. Where it used to jump 300, come back 110, and then work its way up another 200 pips. And I would trade this, right? You're like, how did you do on NFP? Well, we waited 20 minutes and we pulled the trigger on the retracement, and an hour later, I scalped out $1.20 on it and called it a day. But yeah, I've never. I met John once or twice, but I've never seen his analysis. Yeah, but look at this. I do 3-hour videos sometimes. So anyways, yeah, this is tradable. I'm not in love with it, though. Erythium. Let me go back to the contracts. Negative carry both ways. Yeah, so interesting. All right, interesting. Yeah, and sorry for being verbose today, but I told you right off the bat. I don't know. It's weird. We're talking, but I'm just done or whatever. Just hanging. We're just hanging. So here's the question you should be asking yourself if you're day trading. Where's the up on this? Is this going to behave? So one thing you could do is change your template and look at confluence. Okay. Is this going to be support or resistance? Okay. And then you can
U.S. Treasury yield
do day trading from there.
Highs of the session, the 10-year back towards 1.12%, the 2-10-year spread back above 97 basis points, and as rates have moved higher, we've seen the dollar index continue to remain near its best levels of the session at 90.61, up 0.4% now in the U.S. dollar index.
It's so nice that we predicted it all before it happened. Nice. All right, going back to this. When you're day trading, what a lot of people make mistakes. Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't see them, right? But the bottom line is, if you're day trading and we're trading this as a top, you have the, at some point you get this kind of move, right? Okay. So a day trade right now might be down, 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 up, up, sell, down, 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 down. Here's the question. This is why I say sometimes there's a mistake here, sometimes it's not a mistake. And it comes down to your judgment call, your conviction, your bias, your previous research, and everything. But if you're just day trading using, like pure price action, you might say, well, we got some upward movement here, therefore you're going to sell. But what about this? This gray area, is that support? So this is where bulls and bears might disagree. A bear's thinking this, and a bull might be thinking this. Or how would a bull treat this? Okay. So this is sort of decision-making time, right? Down, 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 up, up, sell, down, 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 up, sell, oh. Or, What's your decision-making process? Okay, so the price action is pretty clear if you're on this. Let me move this here and make that thinner. But you can see on the low time frame. So you trade the double top. Okay, so your first trade would be here. Down, 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 down. Okay, that predicts the next low. Or, in this lower high, right? Now this, and you drag this across, and there's your new sell zone. Okay? New lower low, drag this across, there's your new sell zone. Okay? And now your question is, right? Now that we have this new lower low, you do it again. Drag that low, drag it across. And what you're deciding now is a couple of things. If it does this, will you do that? Doesn't have to be right off that line. It could be a little low, it could be a little high, but generally speaking, roughly speaking, that's that. And then were you facing the risk of this support? No. Are you facing it now? Yes. So in your decision process on this particular price action trade is, are you going to sell it or not? Are you worried about the bottom or not? Okay. And you can say, well, Wayne, nobody's paying attention to that zone anymore. Okay, cool. So now you could do it like, let's just look on it from a daily basis then. Okay. On a daily basis, someone will take it down one more shot. Okay. The other scenario would be S to R, which is next week's trade. Oh. Well, that makes sense too, doesn't it? Therefore, trade your conviction. See, a bull would love to buy and take this up Monday. That's what these pivots are telling us. We also know there's monthly here. And you're like, well, that also looks interesting to a bull, doesn't it? Right? A bull is playing this, aren't they? That's a swing trade. The bear is looking at a day trade. Which one's right? I don't know. Crappy answer, right? How was school today? I don't know. How'd you do on that test? I don't know. What was it about? I don't know. This is Bitcoin. Okay? It's the process that matters, JK. Right? What it actually is, it doesn't matter. But many people don't understand when they're here, they don't understand the decision they're actually making. So I have to put all of that into context. See, a buyer here is buying this, and they're buying this. Okay? This is called a 1, 2, 3 pattern. So whoever bought here is likely to buy here because they get it. But someone else is just staring at it like this. And all they see is what has been happening. And they don't understand the decision they're making now. They don't see it. They don't see the giant move on the macro. See, on the macro level, someone's making a decision of this is simply a pullback, which sets up a rally. Someone else is looking at and saying, well, this is support based on a role reversal on an old 1, 2, 3. Someone else is saying, this is Monday's day trade that I'm front running. They don't see the front run. They don't see the swing trade. They don't see the price action. They're just in the moment. And nothing wrong with that, except they should see not just where they are in the moment, but understand the bigger context. And so is this going to do this? It might. But it might not. And that's the decision. How much conviction do you actually have for the lower low, lower high? Will this hit the day trade or stay at the S? Very often, and here's the other trick, it'll do both. It'll allow the day trader to bring this down, and there's still plenty of money for the swing trader on Monday. So, right? So your decision would be then sell it down, out, counter trend. Okay. So now what we're talking about is day trading into a swing trading, right? A day trading into a swing trade, and using these as your catapults. Okay. So let me ask you. Okay. Do Bitcoin traders use pivot points? Remember, you have to believe it, otherwise you won't do it. Okay? What do we call this? Specifically this. OOP. How do you set up a long trade on an OOP setup? What's the kicker for buying overbought? How do you buy overbought in an OOP situation? What's the key? I need specific, not just the 21, which 21? Okay. I guess on a day trade, because that's really a swing trade rule, I'll accept it. I'll accept it on this time frame. Okay. 4 hours probably too far out. Okay. But yeah, I'll accept that just because it's day trading. I forgot it was day trading. Okay. So check this out. You ready? Asia. Right? So this is Shanghai. This is London. This is New York. Shanghai, London, New York. So to me, New York always looks like a time to get out, not a time to get in. Don't you think? Asia, so Shanghai, London, New York. Yeah. So how about this? On Monday, you open here. Asia, London, New York. This is like my criticism of people that show up in New York and they're like, hey, what's going on, fellas? Are we buying or are we selling? I'm like, I think you're going bankrupt. Like, you're supposed to be taking profit. Where's the next in? So if we're here now, what I say is plan tomorrow. Okay? This would have been a decent trade. This would have been a decent trade. This would have been a decent trade. I don't think we'll get another one today. This would have been a decent trade. This would have been a decent trade. This would have been a decent trade. Right? Right? It just happened to keep going. Decent time to trade, decent time to trade. This one you would have looked at it and said, ooh, out, not in. Okay? But it seems to me London is probably the best time to be trading Bitcoin. Or fade it. But why fade it? Just do it. Right? No, and I understand that. Ann says, well, it's traded 24/7. Well, Forex is traded 24/5, but that doesn't matter. What matters is when humans are awake, when humans act, when humans make decisions. Most of what we do is human behavior with some macro behind it. So it's when people are at their charts willing to pull the trigger. The morning. So people wake up, whether it's Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, whatever, okay? They wake up and they're like, oh, let's get our trades on. Oh, let's throw down a Bitcoin trade because they'll probably trade a bunch of things. It's just when you sit down at your desk with your cup of coffee or cup of tea or whatever the case may be, right? And you sit there and you're like, okay, we're going to get some trades on. Great. So what's the first one? Oh, let's look at Bitcoin. We're buyers of Bitcoin. Oh, it's pulled back. Okay, that's great. Buy. So it doesn't matter that it's trading 24 hours a day. You have to be able to predict the volume and volatility. And it is quite predictable. Okay? Okay? Cool. Well, I think I'm spent. I think I'm going to pull the plug. It's 10 a.m. Sorry, I just wasn't in it today. It was a long week. I mean, we hung out. I think today there was a little bit of training in there, wasn't there? A little bit of training, a little bit of analysis. It was a little bit, right? But I don't know. So anyways, Monday is a holiday, so there won't be a webinar on Monday, but I will see you Tuesday. And then Wednesday is the inauguration and all that kind of stuff. So lots going on, just very interesting times. And remind yourself of not what's happening in the next 20 minutes being important, or what you see on news today, or what you see, what might happen next week per se. It's always keep your eyes on the prize. Where are we going and why are we going there? Oh yes, Tuesday I will be doing the first lesson of macroeconomics, and I'll teach you why it's important. Right? So that's a good place to start. Okay? I don't think I want to talk about what it is, like how to calculate it, until you know why it's even relevant. So it should be nice. Yeah, it should be good. Should be really nice. So anyways, peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May our profits be above average. Have a nice Friday afternoon. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice holiday on Monday. And I'll see you Tuesday. Thanks for being in my life. Cheers. Goodbye.